Hi, my name is Felicity Meakins and I'm a CI with the ARC Centre of Excellence for the Dynamics of Language. My main areas are in the documentation of traditional Australian languages, so languages that have been spoken for thousands of years in Australia, particularly in the Northern Territory. But I'm also particularly interested in language change. So before invasion, before 1788, we think of Australia as being a highly multilingual place where there were 300 languages spoken at least, many more dialects, and an individual person would have been highly multilingual, speaking many languages. Since colonisation and to this date now, there's perhaps around 18 languages that are still being learnt by children. And in their place is this tapestry of newer language varieties like Creole, some of the mixed languages that we know like Gurindji Creole and Light Warlpiri, and of course Aboriginal English varieties as well. So there's been a massive shift that's gone on, and a lot of the traditional languages are severely endangered. So part of the reason that some communities have shifted towards Creole is because they're communities that are very artificial communities. They were created from missions or as refuges when there was a lot of massacres going on. So there's a lot of different language groups that have come together that weren't traditionally in such close contact. And so they were seeking a lingua franca, a common language, and Creole became that language. Creole uses words from English, a lot of grammar from English, but the sound system's distinctly Aboriginal, so that English speakers can't understand it. And a lot of the semantics is also derived from traditional languages. So a lot of those communities are maintaining their Indigenous heritage through semantics and the sound systems. In other places that I work, there's a lot more vocabulary from the traditional languages and even grammar from the traditional languages. So different communities are doing different things, and even different language communities, for instance the Warlpiri in different communities have distinct ways of mixing English with Creole. This means that each community has their own individual identity. In terms of research directions, I'd like to see more Indigenous Australians taking on the sorts of questions that linguists, mostly non-Indigenous, have been working on. So it would be fabulous to see Indigenous linguists taking over some of the language documentation work that we're doing, and also focusing a lot on issues of maintenance and revitalisation. There's many opportunities in that there's linguistics programs at universities, there's a number of language centres around the place, there's own language courses that can be done through a Bachelor Institute, and it'd be wonderful to see much more uptake from aspiring Indigenous linguists to undertake those kinds of programs. I'm very interested in having PhD students come and work with me, particularly on issues of language change and new linguistic varieties. So students who are really keen to get out bush and work with young people on their language varieties and add a little more prestige to these varieties and show the genius that many of these languages actually have. So one of the things that I've particularly got out of the Centre of Excellence is meeting biologists who have particular modelling techniques, which means that we can model language change in ways that we've never been able to before. So we're now throwing a lot more data, we're upscaling data to be able to use biological methods to understand how languages change. And in understanding how languages change, we can also tap into the ideas that communities have about undoing some of the changes that they consider to be quite detrimental to their languages.